Hey there, I have a video here to talk through why I think Sabine is the best deck in Star Wars Unlimited. And it has to do with something meta related to the rules of Star Wars Unlimited. Of course, in order to, have a beatdown or aggro strategy, you also need to have the cards to do it, right? You need to have cards that can be played early, fast, in multiples, multiple a turn, and you can, somehow amplify your damage very, very fast in a very glass cannon manner. And in a game like Magic the Gathering, which is a famous card game, and Star Wars Unlimited has a lot of themes and a lot of metrics and calculations that you can take from and apply to this game. A lot of games that are aggressive, right now I play a lot of Pauper in Magic, and Pauper is commons only. And it's quite interesting because in Magic's history, they've printed so many cards that Pauper is a very powerful meta. And the best deck right now, over almost 13% of the meta is a burn. So very aggressive, very fast. It happens to be red, which is similar with aggression in Star Wars Unlimited. It plays all of these really cheap one-drop creatures that you can attack early with. They do a couple, 1 or 2 damage, and they can all get buffed by each other. And this sounds a lot like Sabine in Star Wars Unlimited, right? There's actually a couple of red cards in Sabine that when they attack, they buff other guys on your team. There's other cards that when you play them, you get to buff another guy and attack with them, another unit and attack with them. And there's reach cards like For a Cause I Believe In, which is basically like something like Galvanic Blast, which can deal 4 damage to somebody directly in Magic. And in Magic, you have 20 life, not 25 or 30. But very similar ideas happening. And there's something in Star Wars Unlimited that Magic doesn't have. They both have event type cards like instants or sorceries, which are basically, events in Star Wars Unlimited. They have units, which are creatures. But there's something that's fundamentally different on 2 levels. One, you can never get mana screwed. These decks often play a low amount of lands. So the decks in Magic are 60. And you need to play a land. You can play 1 land per turn. So roughly less than 1/3 of the deck is lands. And sometimes you can draw 1 or 0 land hands and you have to mulligan. You cannot play those. They're impossible to play. In Star Wars Unlimited, you don't really have that problem. Every single deck you play is really, really strong. And I'm just going to show you my Sabine list that I've played Boba Green, I've played Darth Vader Green with Energy Conversion Lab, and I think I've played maybe 5 to 8 games against each, and I've won every single 2 out of 3. And it has to do with some pretty crazy sequencing. I think I actually have a description in here. Yeah, let's see. Publish the deck. Publish. There we go. So this is a message I sent to Yakos. He played a double red Sabine, and I'm playing Jeddah City Sabine. I'm still really trying to figure out if you want to play Jeddah City here or not. But here's my deck. I'm playing Benthic 2 tubes, Cantina Brawler. Benthic pumps other red cards. Cantina Brawler is a 2/3 for 1 effectively. Chopper to help with controlling Boba. Greedo, because it's a 3/1 and it's insanely aggressive. It's also another 1-drop. So notice that the first 4 cards I've gone through, all 1-drops. Specforce Soldier gets rid of Sentinel, actually super relevant in this game, and it's a 1-drop. Jeddah Agitator, because it has an on-attack trigger that is absolutely insane, and I've won games with just 1 copy out with my leader out. I've pumped 8 damage with just 1 unit out. Besides my leader, Leia Organa, because she's essentially a 1-drop. Or she's a late game shut down your opponent's crucial unit that's becoming a problem for you. Partisan Insurgent, because you need more units to fill out the deck. It actually kind of sucks, but maybe they'll release something better because the whole first set isn't out yet. But it does its job. It's a 3/4 for 2. when it attacks. Sabine, because it's a super great card, 2/3 with a really relevant on attack trigger. She can get that 3 aspect thing pretty easily in this deck. Wolfie, because he shuts down healing and he's got Saboteur. Saboteur is very important in this game because there's a lot of Sentinel tech in sideboards. Also, the fact that he can shut healing down, you just don't have a problem against healing. Like, you just win every game. If you draw 1 copy of this and they're not playing Energy Conversion Lab, you win. They can't take it down. A lot of times in this game, it's actually quite easy to draw 2 copies of a card. So I usually, you win. I've won every single restore game I've drawn this, I've won because I play it when they finally get their restore online. Well, guess what? You can't do it this turn or the next turn if I take initiative. Ezra Bridger, because he is a Spectre for Chopper and he's a 3/4, so when he attacks, you can get card advantage and fake card draw this way, or card filtration by discarding cards you don't want to see. Fighters for Freedom, amazing card. It's a 3/4, so big toughness there. Saboteur, again, really relevant keyword. And whenever you play another red card, you deal damage to a base. Basically, you have another source of Sabine triggers. And so if you're pinging with Sabine and pinging with this, that's, I've had 2 of these out at some point, and I've played 2 red cards and gotten an extra 4 damage, direct. Fleet Lieutenant is probably the best card in the deck. It's a +2/+0, and you get a 3/3, and you get to attack with something. So it's 2 actions in 1 with a little sweetened deal. Let's make that next action a little bit better if it's a rebel. Insane. Really, really good. And you can a lot of people don't realize this, but you can target non-rebels with this and still get the free attack. You just don't get the +2. K2, because he's, top end. A lot of times if you see him early, you do resource him. Green Squadron A-Wing, because it is, again, just another cheap card that does 3 damage for 2. And the Millenium Falcon's insane. It's a 3/4. It's the reason why you're in yellow here in Cunning is because of Millenium Falcon and because of Surprise Strike. Both these cards represent 3 damage at basically on the turn you play them. And that's very relevant. That can be 10% of your opponent's life from both of these cards. And one of them, the only difference here is this one gets to stay around. Keep Fighting is very good because I have 5 units in the deck that you can abuse attack triggers. You have your leader Sabine, you have regular Sabine, you have Wolfie, that's not super relevant. You have Sabine's trigger, you have Jedha Agitator, which is super relevant, and then Benthic, giving multiple units raid 2 with this, untapping him and attacking again if your opponent took the initiative and they'd have nothing left to do. I have pumped 16 damage by doing this. It's insane. And it's only 2. So you might say, hey, okay, what's the point? So there's Magic and there's Star Wars Unlimited. The reason why aggro is better in this game than it is in Magic is because you draw 2 at the end of your turn. That is the reason. And let me kind of show you some math here. So I've actually mapped out the first 5 turns that typically happen. I've actually had better turns. I'd say about 30% of the time I actually play more cards than I went here, but I went conservative, okay? All right, with the amount of 1-drops I'm playing and 2-drops that I'm playing, what I have here is very statistically realistic, if not more than half the time you're gonna have happen. So let's just kind of walk through this here. So on turn 1, you're gonna resource. You have total 6 playable cards in your opening hand. You're going to resource 2, and hopefully, if you have 2 1-drops, you're going to play 2. So at this point, you'll have 2 total resources. You'll have played 2 units, and next turn, or this turn, you have 2 actions on top of that to use. You have Sabine's action, and you have Jedha City. So I'm going to count those. All right. So turn 2 comes around. You're going to resource. So you're going to have, after you draw and resource, you're going to have 4 total cards in hand. Just kidding. I'm gonna go like that. You're gonna have 4 total cards in hand. What are you gonna do with those 4 cards? You're gonna resource 1 and play 2. So you're gonna have 3 total resources. You're gonna have played 4 units already. And you're gonna have 4, that's actually incorrect. Just kidding. You're gonna have 4 total actions available because you have 2 units from the previous turn, plus your base and your leader. So you have 4 actions. Turn 3, You have 3 playable cards in hand. You're going to resource 1, play 1, and then play Sabine because you're going to be at 4 total resources. Sabine comes out at 4. You're going to have 6 total units in play and 5 actions available to you on that turn to use, because I'm not counting units that come into play tapped. Notice I haven't talked about Millenium Falcon, right? Because Millenium Falcon would actually come into play untapped. You could have 6 actions. That is legitimate. Or you could play a 2-drop and you could play ready. You could ready it, so you could have 6 actions. Again, I'm just kind of going very conservative here. Turn 4, you're going to have 3 playable cards in hand. You're not going to resource anymore because, actually, yeah, you're going to resource. So typically you stop at 5. And the reason why 5 is the magic number is it's very likely to draw a 3 and a 2 drop whenever you draw 2. And that ensures you can dump 2 cards a turn. So you can see here, as the game progresses, you are scaling at a rate your opponent cannot scale at until turn 5. And most Sabine games end on turn 5, 6, 7. All right, had to end my video last night and continue recording from where I was at. So essentially, and I actually, upon rewatching my first video, I found some mistakes. So I actually played 2 there. So what's important here is in Magic the Gathering, typically aggro deals with top decking. And in top decking, it's where you've dumped your hand, you've pumped your value, your opponent's still alive, and you just don't have any more gas. But in Star Wars Unlimited, when you draw 2 and you get to turn 4, 5 with Sabine, that is a true draw 2. And what I mean by that is that you're not drawing 1, you're drawing 2 and not resourcing anymore, so you have 2 playable cards. And that sort of, because Sabine is weird, where most decks in this game you don't want to stop resourcing at 4, it's actually quite abnormal for almost every other deck in the entire game to even do that, where she can abuse this and continue to push damage. And then you basically are able to maximize the amount of cards you're playing. But there's something a little bizarre in Star Wars Unlimited that exists in Magic as well. It's board advantage. But there's more than just board advantage at play, because in Star Wars Unlimited, it's not just the board itself, it's actually actions. And in games, there's something called card advantage, where if you're able to 2-for-1 your opponent, right? I play a card and it kills 2 of your things, and I only played 1. I'm up a card now. That's card advantage. Something very, very odd is introduced into this game. They're all connected together, but they're all distinctly different, but they're all intrinsically related. Card advantage, board advantage, and what I've sort of discovered in this game is, not discovered, I guess, what I've realized is action advantage. If you can produce more units to create more actions in the game, you are more likely, you're going to have a huge leg up on your opponent. In games like Magic, developing your board just means you're faster and you can do more damage and things like that. And that's at play here as well. But because you share a turn with your opponent, there's something about having more options in that turn that just allows you to just circle around your opponent. It's like, oh, you attack that one? All right, I do these 2 things and double punish you. You attack that one instead, rewind the tape, attack number 2 instead of number 3. Well, I'm going to punish you this way instead. And it's really interesting how having more actions than your opponent is very, very critical to winning games. I think it's very similar to a game like Magic, where if you just have more creatures, you're pushing more damage. End of the day. Absolutely. But I think the way that this plays out in Star Wars Unlimited is producing more actions. Like the more units you produce and the more things you can pump out, the more actions you have available to you, your turn becomes more flexible. Each turn becomes increasingly more valuable. Obviously, none of these numbers take into account control, removal. I just kind of wanted to calc it out without any other sort of, items at play. And I think by breaking this out, you can see the total actions available and total units played after turn, after turn 5. It's hard to calculate because you could play 2 units, you could play 2 events. And the way you play Sabine is you dump units for the first 4 turns, and then you use your events to basically surprise kill your opponent. Because it's just unknown amounts of damage that are invisible to them. The less information, units are, when you play a unit, you give your opponent information. You hold events because they basically are trap cards of some kind, right? Oh, I needed to do 14 damage and you thought I only had, 10. Well, I ready Sabine and attack with her again and do an extra, or, I ready Jetta Agitator and I attack in for 4. I ready Kate, you're able to use these attack triggers to manipulate your board and push damage. So, anyways, I know it doesn't sound super profound, but I think in combination, gaining action advantage, which is connected to developing your board with units, as well as the draw 2 in this game. Usually in like mono red in Magic, you could dump your hand by turn 3 and you have, 1 playable card at the start of your next turn. But in turn 4 in this game, you have 3 playable cards, 2 playable cards, 2 playable cards. And some red decks now, they've got card draw engines. They're cards that let them play the top 2 cards of their library until end of turn. They reveal them. They get to play them until end of turn. And they're able to sort of like snowball those special effects to get fake card draw. What's bizarre is in Sabine, I have those cards. They're just a part of the game rules. I get to draw 2. And so aggro decks definitely are able to abuse the draw 2 more than other decks are. And I think we're going to begin to see that. And there's one giant caveat here. Sabine, I think, I'm just going to go out there and say right now, people think Boba Green is the best deck. We still have about 24-ish cards. I think in like 30 minutes, they're going to reveal another card on the January 29th. But I think we're going to find out that Sabine's going to have roughly a 60 to 80% win rate against most decks. 60%, probably going to lose to Boba and Green Vader and Green Boba sometimes, simply because if they draw Overwhelming Barrage, they 3-for-1 me. That's amazing value. Oopsie. They drew the 1 card that can beat me. Where Sabine can beat them with any combo of cards if they don't draw that. And I think that's what's really, really hard right now is there are almost in fact, I don't think there's any board wipes. So, let me just show you like a board wipe from Magic. This is like a famous one, or Languish, MTG. -4/-4 to all creatures on the battlefield, right? That's, that would kill everything. In Sabine, everything would die. Or let's see, Anger of the Gods is 3 damage. It only costs 3 mana instead of 4, so you can play it earlier. 3 damage to every creature. Let's see here. So, let's see. That would kill everything in this deck. But right now, all we have is Overwhelming Barrage. So we have 1 set. This is the card people play. Give a friendly unit +2/+2. Then it deals damage equal to its power divided as you choose among any number of friendly units. And I actually built my deck. The reason why I'm playing certain cards in my deck, there are some cards that get punished by this. But, Chopper, hard to kill a Chopper, if you have Chopper out and you have Sabine and you have Fighters for Freedom, a lot of times you're not even killing 2 creatures. You're doing a 1-for-1. And that's tough. Jetta Agitator is the only card in the deck that can really get raffle stomped by that card. If you have 2 of those out, they can end up 3-for-1ing you, which is really punishing. But I think the value that this card presents is way too good. The on-attack trigger doing 2 damage to a unit or a base is, a lot of times I've won a lot of games where they have 2-3 Sentinels out. Well, just attack in with my Jetta Agitator, Saboteur hits you for 2, and then the 2 damage to base, game over, Very, very powerful. Or like I'll attack with Jetta Agitator to their base and then ping their unit for 2, drop their shield. Now they have no shield, and I've just gone up on board state immensely, and they thought they were going to be able to 2-for-1 me with their shielded guy. Not anymore. And it just totally throws my opponent for a loop. So yeah, anyways, I just think obviously people know that this deck is already really, really good. I thought I wanted to add a little bit as to why, and like breaking down why is this deck so good. Of course, it's go fast, play fast, win. But, you know, I'm just realizing, like, why does this feel more powerful than an aggro deck in Magic? It's because you draw 2. And I think a lot of times in a Green Boba deck, you have a fistful of cards and you draw 2. Cool, now you have 2 more cards, but you're still going to play 1 card a turn. And, you know, Sabine's like 2, 2, 3. And that's what I put in the description here. It should be here. It's kind of annoying my description isn't published, but... So... I've played many games where... Actually, you know what? Let's just talk through this. Where I've played like a Benthic, a Cantina Braeguard. So 2 1-drops on turn 1. Turn 2 rolls around... I'm playing Leia, I'm playing Chopper, and I'm playing Greedo. 5 units on turn 2? In Magic, that is unheard of. That is unheard of in Magic. And in this game, that feels like a lot of times I'll be in Tabletop Simulator and someone will chat me like, what? Like, all right, just scoop up their deck already. I mean, that is just insane. That's only happened 1 time right now, but I think that I've added Chopper recently, and I took out, I think I took out some events. I think I took out 1 Keep Fighting, and I took out For a Cause I Believe In because I have too many mono red cards. But Chopper is another 1-drop. You know, you can't, I'd rather play 3 Greedos, to be honest, but I've realized a lot of times you might draw 2 Greedos after you like on turn 2, if you draw 2 and you see another Greedo, that can really, really be bad. So I wanted to be able to have a more diversity. A lot of times you get stuck with multiples of uniques, and they can be dead cards sometimes, and you don't always want to resource them. You know, that is kind of nice if you get like a duplicate of a unique, you just resource the duplicate right away. But so it almost makes like legendary or unique units like not a thing. But anyways, I think, as we'll see as the game is released, unless they print like crazy control cards in the next 20-ish cards, or Palpatine, the final leader, is like somehow is able to like do 3 damage to the whole board, you know, once per game, epic action. If that happens, then I don't think Sabine's going to do too well. I think she's going to get destroyed. Regardless, you know, it's possible that happens. I think it's unlikely. And you know, we already have things like Overwhelming Barrage. I really doubt they're gonna reveal cards that wipe the board. They might have a Wrath effect, like destroy all units in space, or destroy all units on the ground, like a Death Star effect or something, or I don't know. We'll see. That is very, very possible. I could see that costing 6 though, and I'll tell you this: Sabine wins on turn 5. I usually win most games, or my opponent scoops most games on turn 5. Because that's when Sabine's had two turns to swing in. She represents 6 damage after swinging in twice, and just the cumulative damage I do, if they're playing a 30 life base, usually I win on turn 6 then, or turn 7. But what's interesting is I usually end most games with almost all my life total, or my base is no damage on it, because they're spending all of their actions trying to control me, and they're trading 1 creature. A lot of times they might kill my unit and keep their unit, but if I play 2 more, they're falling behind still, and you just keep dumping it on them. And so I think the only answer right now for Sabine is Overwhelming Barrage on, you know, with Bossk out. That's how I get 2 for 1. You know, they play Overwhelming Barrage on Bossk. They ping something for 2, and then they, you know, spread 6 damage over 3 units. And, you know, they can 3 or 4 for 1 me. And that's happened once or twice. But to me, that's the nut draw. I haven't even talked about the sideboard here. In the sideboard, I would play Waylay to bounce restore units that get pumped with, like, upgrades. Just like, oh, yeah, 2 for 1, 2 for 1, 2 for 1 you. And you can play that on turn 2. So if your opponent restores, you know, pumps up their guy, you could slap a Waylay and just completely tempo them out. So I'd play 3 Waylays on the side. I think I would play Exhaust a unit, give a shield to one of your units. I'd play a ton of control style cards, because I would actually take out Keep Fighting and Surprise Strike, and I would put in control cards instead. Because if you can just bounce one unit or pause a unit once or twice, that's enough to win with Sabine still. And if you need to slow down those units that can 2-for-1 you or restore by getting a bunch of upgrades, and they can restore 3, 4, 5 a turn, you just got to waylay them and you can win. So this game has a lot of flexibility with Cunning. I feel like Cunning as a base for Sabine feels good because it gives her access to tricks like Surprise Strike. Is that a trick? No, it's not. Tactic. It's a tactic, but you know, you can get waylay. So how many times am I going to say waylay? Yeah, tricks. So there's going to be more tricks that are going to be revealed, hopefully. There's a ton you could consider playing in this deck. Yeah, anyways, I just think Sabine is super strong. Everyone knows me in the Discord channel as like, you know, I jokingly loving Sabine. I do. It's a great card. It's fun. And I know people early on in the last like 2 months have already said she's the best, but I think I just wanted to do my own breakdown of why she's so good. And I think that's going to really transform the meta. I think Boba Green can get stomped by a bunch of other decks, but the reason why Boba Green's going to be the best is because it can do a decent job against Sabine. And I'm actually building my deck and having Chopper, you know, the fact that Boba can get free resources, having Chopper to shut down those free resources or slow them down at all on turn 2 or turn 3 is super relevant. Like if I play a Chopper and take the initiative, they can't use their laser technician and ambush it in. They just can't. They can't get that bonus resource, and they do that a lot to ramp up so they can keep with my tempo by having more ramp. But if you can do that kind of stuff, you're just destroying them. And I think Chopper is going to be. That's what's crazy about Chopper is his on attack trigger is always there, and he only gets raid 1 with Spectre. His on attack trigger is honestly stupid. If you play him and you take initiative, it's just, even if you forego playing a second unit, the fact that if your opponent doesn't play a unit on turn 1 and you take the initiative, you know you're going to shut them down again, probably, unless they draw that unit. So being able to like steal your opponent's turn 1 and turn 2 or turn 2 play is honestly like cheating, it feels like. But I think Chopper is actually uniquely powerful in this deck because he's stupid with that on attack trigger. It's so dumb. And you can get a Spectre. I mean, you have a built-in Spectre with your leader, so you're guaranteed a Spectre every game. Even if you don't draw any other Spectre in the deck, you're guaranteed to play Sabine. So he's a 2/3 for 1, basically. I usually don't play him on turn 1 unless I have the initiative. I usually play him on turn 2, so that on turn 3, when he does attack, he's got that extra bonus. He's hard to kill. He's at 3 toughness. You know, that's really relevant in this deck. So anyways, I'll keep the video short, but I think this is why Sabine's the best deck. People can prove me wrong. I think I'm going to be right. I don't see why I wouldn't be right unless the next 20-ish or so cards prove me wrong, or there's cards that are printed that do very well against Sabine. I think it's unlikely. I think they're going to be showing a lot of really cool stuff, but I think it's going to be higher end stuff. I don't think it's going to be any early stuff that can slow Sabine down. But again, I could be wrong. Who knows? They might even print more gas for Sabine. That's also a reality. Probably not at this point. A lot of people think red has been spoiled. Aggression has a lot of spoiled already, but we shall see. But this game is very exciting. Love this game. If you don't know what this game is, you're missing out. This game is like crack. It's like crack gameplay, but it's also deeply strategic. It's not like Marvel Snap where it's like you're not thinking. Like you actually have to think a lot in this game. It's got the amazing deck building. It's going to have an amazing sealed and draft environment. I mean, this game is just, and it's Star Wars. Like this is basically a gamer's dream coming true. I don't know. Like I like Star Wars. I'm not a crazy fan. I think it's an insanely cool IP. I've said out into the aether, man, if somebody just made a Star Wars TCG that was really good, like Magic, boom, it's being done. It's kind of like we're living in a fairy tale land here, but it's real. So very exciting, very excited about this game, and excited to go to pre-release in a couple weeks, or actually like exactly a month from today will be pre-release Friday and Saturday. So very exciting. We're going to be getting the cards in hand, and you know, all the cool foils will be posted all over the internet. So anyways, I think that, again, this deck is really, really powerful, and I haven't even worked on the sideboard yet, but I think you would basically just sideboard all of the stuff that would beat this deck. And that would be Waylay and other stuff, and I haven't even thought about it, but I think it's very possible actually, am I 4 costs? Yeah, so 4 costs I believe in is not very good in this deck right now. I was thinking maybe you'd sideboard that, but it's just not good because you're playing so many mono aggression cards, and this is only triggered on heroism. So yeah, anyways, let me know what you guys think. Please discuss in the comments, and let me know if you disagree. If you got any data on your Sabine matchups, I would love to hear that. Like, hey, Boba Green, actually I have like a 60% win rate. That would be great. But anyways, if you're looking to play me, I would love to play my Sabine against your build if you think you can beat it. Love to jam like 5 to 8 games and transcribe those. I'm going to start keeping a log of all my wins just to determine my win rates in the Google Sheet. So yeah, let me know if you want to play. Hit me up in the Discord. If you don't, just I'll post the Discord share link for anyone who wants to join.